Hi ET605. This presentation is going to be on how to set up a hyperlinked PowerPoint and be able to view it in kiosk mode so that way your students have to navigate the way that you want them to navigate your PowerPoint. So I've started by creating a sample hyperlinked PowerPoint template. I've already created 5 slides. I have a title slide, I have a menu slide, and then I have 3 additional slides that just have first, second, and third hyperlink, not even consistently written. So what I'm going to do is first and foremost, because I want to save this a specific way, I want to have it browsed at kiosk mode, I have to go in and go to the slideshow settings. So I'm up at the top and I find my slideshow ribbon and I want to click on Setup Slideshow. Once I click on that, the default show type is presented by speaker, which is what we usually use PowerPoint for. We usually have it driven by the presenter. However, at this case, we want to change it to browse at kiosk mode. And what that does is it keeps students locked into certain screens until they push specific buttons, which is important for us to use so that way we have them navigate the PowerPoint the way that we want them to. And we'll click OK. You could also, in this, set up different slide transitions if you'd like. So if you click the transition slide, what you can actually do is, this is something that you're not going to have to do with this presentation, but down the road, if you wanted to set specific transitions and making your PowerPoint advance after a certain amount of time, you could go through and have where it says advanced slide up here, and you could just click on after, and you could choose like after 10 seconds, I want it to go through. Now notice it's only selected on this slide, so if I did want to do that, I'd have to select which transition I wanted. Notice under slide 1 it changed a little bit. And what I actually want to do is click apply to all slides. So that way right now all of my slides, once I started my presentation, would advance after 10 seconds. For the case of this presentation, we don't want it to do that, so I'm just going to change it back to none and having no slide transitions, and have that applied to all of them. But just note for future reference, that's where you would find transitions. Okay, anyway, at this point with my hyperlinked PowerPoint, I've already changed it over to kiosk mode, and then I want to go through and save it a certain way to begin with. So first and foremost, I want to go up to File, Save As, and I'm just going to choose a space on my desktop. And what I actually want to do is I want to go through and I'm going to make this hyperlinked PowerPoint. But I actually want to choose a different format. So notice down up here, the default format that you can choose is .pptx. That means it's a presentation mode. That's typically how we save our PowerPoints. That's how we're going to save it for right now. However, when we're finished, we're not only going to save it as pptx, but we're also going to save it as ppsx, which is a PowerPoint show. And what that does is it doesn't allow when students open up the document. So I'll click on it and save real quick. When we typically would open up this document, it would look like this. We would have all of our tools and everything like that. But if you save it in PowerPoint Show, with PowerPoint Show, it actually wouldn't show all this. It would only just have your presentation as if you clicked in here. This is what it would look like when you open up the document. And you wouldn't actually be able to get out of it unless you press escape or click through the links that you want students to use. All right, so let's go through and start our hyperlinked PowerPoint. When we're on a Mac, we want to make sure that we start our title slide. What we can do is we can just have this. We'll talk about how to advance in a moment. But the first thing we're going to work on is how to make hyperlinks to other slides and to other websites. So there's a couple different ways that you can do this. On the menu slide, what you want to first do is have the text you first want to create a hyperlink, a link to somewhere else in the document. And you can do this a couple different ways. You can go up to Insert and click down to Hyperlink. And then once you click on that, it'll bring up a space. Or my favorite is Command K. That's the keyboard shortcut for literally going up into Insert Hyperlink. And when you're on the Mac side, it pops up a couple different things. Now, if you wanted a simple link to a web page, you would choose web page, which we're going to do in a moment. If you wanted to link it to a different document, you can go ahead and do that. Or if you wanted to do an email address link, you can go ahead and do that as well. We actually want to link it in the document because we want to create a hyperlink to the slide that says first hyperlink. So what we actually want to do, we're not selecting a file, we're actually creating this thing called an anchor. And we want to click on the button that says locate. Now you have a couple different options. It says select place and document. At this point you could choose the first slide, last, next, previous, etc. Or if you click the drop down for slide titles, since this is my first hyperlink I'm creating, I want it to go to the first hyperlink slide, which I made it in the title. Notice what pops up under the 1, 2, 3, 4 is what you put in the title spot on the slide. So I'm going to create this to first hyperlink, and I'm going to click OK. And what we can do is we can test this out real quick. So if I open this up and put it into presentation mode, because that's where our hyperlinks work, if I hover over it, notice how the finger pops up and that it tells me that it's a link, and if I click on it, it goes to the first hyperlink slide. So what I want to do is go through and create more hyperlinks that go through. So again, I want to go to Document, under Anchor, I want to click Locate, and this is my second hyperlink, and then I'm going to click OK, and then I also want to do my third hyperlink. And then click OK. And so now I've created my menu with all of my hyperlinks. And that should be able, I can go through and check each of them, and we'll talk about how to get back to that menu slide in a second. And that's how I create my third hyperlink. Now, if I'm on my first hyperlink page, I can create a link to a website using the exact same kind of process. So what I would do is I would just, if I wanted to insert a link to a website, what I would do is select the text that I want to be linked, go up to Edit, or excuse me, Insert Hyperlink. And then instead of that, I would choose web page, and I'm going to do just loyola.edu and click OK. Now, once I'm in my slideshow, if I click on it, it'll take me to Loyola's webpage, whatever I have chosen for this. Okay. Now that we have our links in our menu page, we have our links to different websites. If we're stuck in kiosk mode, we can't actually navigate through anything. So right now, if I'm in kiosk mode, I can't actually click and go to the next slide. It doesn't work. I have to create these things called action buttons. And what action buttons do, these are links that are in a little button that tell us a specific action we want the slide to do. This is perfect to use when we're in kiosk mode, and this is what you're going to have to use in your project. So to create this, we're not going to actually go up to Insert and Hyperlink. We're going to actually go into Shapes. So what you want to make sure is that you're under your Home tab, or you could go up to Insert, Shape if you wanted, or Symbol, or you could just go right here where it says Shape. You notice when you go into Shapes, the very last one is called Action Buttons. Now, these are little buttons that have different meanings. So right now, if I click on this one, notice how it gives me the little toggle. I click and drag, and I can make it any width, height that I want. And after I'm done clicking, notice how it gives me a couple action settings. I could choose mouse click, meaning if I clicked on it, it will do this particular thing, or mouse over, meaning like if I just hovered my mouse over it, it would do something. Mouse click is probably the safest one to use. And what we want to do here, since this is my menu slide or my title slide, I want it to go through and take me to my menu slide, which is my next slide. So I could choose that, or I could actually, if I go down to here where it says slide, I could select that, and then it gives me the different options. And once I click on them, I can actually see what I'm choosing. So I want it to go to my menu slide, so I'm going to click OK. You can also have it play a sound if you really want. So I'll choose a sound because it's kind of fun. And then click OK. Now, when I'm in my slideshow settings, I can actually, now I can't click anywhere in the PowerPoint because we're in kiosk mode. However, I can click on that action button, and it takes me to my next slide. Okay. Now, from here, we have the option of clicking on our hyperlinks, but I can't go back to my menu slide. So I actually need to, on my menu slide, click create an action button that lets me go back to the menu. Well, I would need to do this on all of my hyperlinked pages. So from here, I'm going to go to the first hyperlinked page, and I'm going to go back and create an action button. And I like this little U-turn one. The default for the U-turn one is to go to last slide viewed, which would actually be our menu slide, because in this case, our menu slide is what we're clicking hyperlink to. So from this case, what I would do is I can either leave it as last slide viewed, or again, I could click slide and I could make it go back to our menu page, and then I can click OK. The other cool thing about this is I don't have to recreate this every time. I can actually just copy, so go up to Edit, Copy, or Command C, and I can go to my next page and hit paste again. And if I double click on it, I can actually see, or excuse me, if I right click on it, click Edit Hyperlink, I can show that I've already put this on going to the menu. And so now I have my action buttons all on these. And this is everything that you're going to need to do to create a hyperlinked PowerPoint. If you want to go through and double check, okay, I'm on my first hyperlinked page. It takes me back to my menu slide. And from here, I could also add an action button that ends the show. if I wanted to, or I could just have write a little text that says press escape to end PowerPoint. And at this point, since I'm done, I want to make sure I save it again as my PPTX file. But then at this point, since this is what I want to upload it in, I also want to save it as .ppsx. .ppsx is the file that I would actually share with my students in order for them to be locked into the presentation. And I'll show you what that looks like in a second. So I've saved it in both places. And I'm going to go back to my desktop where I've saved it. And I'm going to open, notice if I open up the PPTX, it opens it up like we've been editing it. If I open up the PPSX, it goes directly into the presentation that's in PowerPoint. So this is how we go through and create our hyperlinked PowerPoint. Good luck on your projects.